You are welcome to another episode of HN What's Your Say? The #1 listening show where we discuss real issues with real people like you. We are still featuring R. Kelly. Real name Robert Sylvester Kelly. Also known as the R&B King. As we wait for the New York appeal verdict, which has taken almost forever, we begin to wonder why the Chicago appeal deliberations were done haphazardly to come up with a decision at such lightning speed, as though there wasn't many critical factors to consider. While it may look as though the New York case did have the most questionable events and charges that were completely short of evidence to back them up, the Chicago case too had its own issues which should have seen the appeal judges take as much time as was available before making a decision. In fact, the Chicago appeal was supposed to go R. Kelly's way and not to favor the government instead. In Chicago, R. Kelly was charged with enticement and coercion of minors, with allegations that the R&B King lured young girls into his orbit for sexual purposes, and that he forced them to be with him, something that was not proved at trial. In fact, the charge turned out completely irrelevant to his case, that a not guilty verdict emerged on half the charge, clearing him of any coercion allegations. But then we ask, how could he have been found not guilty of the coercion part of the single count but still declared guilty of the entire count only because they imagined he enticed the accusers? And worse still, there was not reason whatsoever and therefore no motivation for a celebrity of R. Kelly's caliber to be enticing women to be with him, yet women were literally fighting on their own to get a moment with him. Our understanding, and that of many case analysts, is that R. Kelly is technically being charged for living his lifestyle as a celebrity, which is a given from the nature of the industry, and not something every great artist will choose to have. There was no way a woman would become a part of R. Kelly's life and miss out on enjoying a good life filled with luxury experiences and shopping sprees. Not because R. Kelly was doing this to entice them, but because that's simply the way celebrities of his caliber live their lives. It's simply a life of plenty and not an enticement agenda. The guilty verdict for enticement and coercion was therefore wrongful and should be reversed with immediate effect. What made this verdict even less credible was the fact that it arose from an inquiry by the jurors to the judge, who were also quite confused on how to deal with a case where defendant is clearly free of one part of a single count and uncleared on the other. The Chicago federal judge Harry Leinenweber, who should have declared a mistrial at that moment, instead ordered that R. Kelly be declared guilty for as long as one part of the count was not resolved. Also in Chicago, R. Kelly was slapped with CP charges which until today remain unresolved in the eyes of neutral case analysts, and in the eyes of those who simply choose to be fair to R. Kelly with or without cause. These particular charges also face strong criticisms, considering many gaps that still remain unfilled do exist. We have time and again spoken of the inadmissibility of the said video evidence that was supposed to back up the CP charges. Until today, the person who first introduced this piece of said evidence has been denying allegations that he could have had any knowledge of its source, insisting on the single story that the video was in fact delivered by an anonymous sender into his mailbox alone leaves a broken chain of custody, as the source of evidence remains undisclosed, and this alone should have caused the dismissal of the VHS tapes the government has continued to present as empiric evidence of CP.
Earlier this month, we uncovered and recovered a videotape of over 40 minutes in length. We promptly brought it to the attention of Ms. Fox and others in her office. This tape leaves no question as to whether R. Kelly is guilty of multiple sexual illegal acts.
Chain of custody in reference to digital evidence refers to the process of handling and documentation of digital evidence from the time it is produced to the time it's presented in court. And it is written in law that for video evidence to be qualified as admissible, the chain of custody must be unbroken. Reviewing these charges therefore from a legal viewpoint makes the CP allegations yet another possible reversal for evidence inadmissibility. We also must remember that it is again at this same Chicago trial where the government literary dragged perpetual liar Lisa Van Allen, who was unwilling to return to court for she had already been busted as a deceitful government witness. But because the government cared less about witness credibility, and because they needed her to try and incriminate R. Kelly on obstruction charges, they had to force her back to the stand. The climax of Chicago legal errors that should have seen the guilty verdicts reversed was the judge's failure to believe and follow the jury's decision that R. Kelly was not guilty of obstruction of justice. Even after R. Kelly was acquitted along with his co-accused Darrell McDavid and Milton June Brown, the judge still concluded by preponderance of evidence that R. Kelly could have obstructed justice, and therefore wrongfully sentenced him to an exorbitant 20 years in prison. It was actually so ugly to see the appeal government attorney defend this excessive sentence by reminding the appeal judges how Judge Leinenweber did not believe his own jury's decision on this matter of obstruction. This revelation alone should have seen the Chicago verdicts disqualified, or at the minimum the 20-year sentence revised for excesses a long time ago but for the existent corruption tendencies. According to Thandi Zile, these corrupt authorities should just swallow their pride and release R. Kelly. He deserves to be out enjoying his freedom and not in a U.S. prison where he clearly doesn't belong. I wonder for how long they are going to subject him to such pain and inhumane treatment. I don't understand for how long they will deny the truth and instead believe these groupies who were seeking to live a soft life by milking the R&B king. According to Cheryl Hayes, we knew they didn't have anything on him, but sadly it has taken them so long to admit their wrongdoings. The system is a bunch of BS and it doesn't make sense how much they want Mr. Kelly behind bars even when he doesn't deserve it. If he wasn't black, I believe he would still be a free man, for justice would prevail. Black people in this country have a much less chance of finding justice, and this is a big problem. If you wish to take part in a live interview on this channel discussing any of these topics, let us know by emailing us on sashahnnewsroom@gmail.com for scheduling. That is all we had for you today on HN What's Your Say? To keep updated whenever we post a new video, subscribe to this channel now. Also remember to hit the bell icon and enable notifications. And feel free to share your opinions with us in the comment section below, and let us know if you would like us to publish your views in our next release. We value all our subscribers' opinions.